Debt, a four-letter word that so many people absolutely despise. However, when borrowing money in the form of credit, it can actually have some advantages despite some disadvantages as well. To help me answer whether or not credit is all that bad, I'm joined with Jordan Green, a personal finance content creator. Hi Jordan, how are you?
Yeah, all good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Welcome onto the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Please introduce yourself to everyone listening.
Yeah, so my name is Jordan, also known as I'm Broke Baby. I'm a personal finance content creator and entrepreneur, and I just like to share my journey of what I've learned along the process. So yeah, anything about credit, I'm willing to share today.
Yeah, and I'm very excited, like I mentioned before we started recording, that, you speak quite openly about your use of credit, which is quite interesting because not many people would in the personal finance space, but I'm keen to know your reasons why in a bit. But what actually inspired you to start sharing content online?
So originally, I've been making content since probably 2012.
Oh, wow.
But for business. So it's always been not my face on the camera.
Yeah.
And then I think the first time I showed my face on camera, I noticed the shift in engagement. So I thought it'd be more useful to actually share my personal progress with business and talk about my personal finances and my business finances. And that was about 2019, and ever since then I've been creating content. Yeah.
Wow. And how have you found the journey?
Yeah, it's been interesting. It's led me down a lot of different routes that I didn't think I'd go down, but
Yeah.
it's definitely been a good journey. Yeah.
And you also won an award a couple of years ago.
Yeah, can't even remember the name.
Personal Finance Content Creator of the Year, Jordan.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Too humble.
Yeah, no, it feels like a while ago, but yeah, it's obviously a lot's happened in between. So
Yeah. Well, obviously, I'm keen to get to know you a lot better because we've been following each other for a while, but this is the first time you're on the podcast. And also for my listeners as well, I've got a couple of quick fire questions for you. So one of my first questions for you before we delve into all things credit is, what's been your most expensive ever purchase?
personal or business purchase?
We'll go both.
So personal, yeah, probably a house.
Okay. So you're a homeowner? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've been a homeowner since 2015.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was much cheaper then. So
Yeah.
And, business purchase, probably commercial property. Yeah.
Wow. So you do property investment as well?
No, just the property that my business is operating in.
Okay, I love that. Okay, well, I didn't know that myself, so definitely learned something new today. And I guess another question I have for you is, if you could go back and tell your younger self one piece of financial advice, what would it be?
It actually would be to start building my credit earlier.
Interesting. When did you start building it?
Probably at 22.
Okay, would you say that's late?
I wouldn't say it's late, but I was in a position where I could have built it. I had very good cash flow, so
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been an issue.
Yeah.
And even less like with, obviously we'll talk about it later, with points from credit, I would have got so much if I actually knew before.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And this is why I'm really excited to have you on the podcast today to talk about your relationship with credit, because I feel like a lot of people's relationship or thoughts of credit is really, really negative. So I guess let's strip it back to basics. What actually is credit?
So credit, in a basic term, is how much a lender, usually a bank, will offer you to borrow. So it comes in the form of credit cards, mortgages, loans. It's a balance that the bank will give you that eventually you're going to have to pay back.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned mortgages there, because I feel like everyone our age is always like, I want to get on the property ladder, I want to buy a house, but they actually forget that they're borrowing money to be able to do that as well, despite credit being all that bad, apparently.
Yeah, so a mortgage is basically a big loan over usually 25 to 30 years.
Yeah.
Right now, obviously interest rates are high, but it used to be a mortgage was the cheapest loan you could get. But right now, obviously, mortgage rates are quite high. So
Yeah. So obviously, like I mentioned, you speak quite openly about borrowing money online. So I'm keen to know what your reasons are for doing so and what you use the money for.
for me, there's three main reasons I would borrow money. One would be cash flow. So like I said, I run businesses, cash flow in businesses, even say as a content creator, operate on invoicing periods, you might not get paid for 30 days. So could just be for cash flow within your business. Second reason is for me to get rewards and points. So if you're like traveling, even if you just spend a lot on your day-to-day purchases, you can actually get a lot of reward points, which you can use for hotel stays, flights, upgrades. So that's second reason I use it. And the third reason would be to take advantage of interest-free periods.
Okay.
So I like to use credit cards which have interest-free periods, and then I could use that money for business use. I could use it for my personal finances, and I don't actually have any interest occurred on that loan. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and so it's actually funny you touched on that, because I'm getting to the point of the year where I have to renew my car insurance, and I always hate paying it because it's so expensive, and also you never really go monthly because they charge you interest, right? So that's when I always take out a new 0% credit card so it can actually cover the cost of my car insurance. Would you agree that's like a good idea?
Yeah, that's a
to
good,
use it?
yeah. I'd recommend that you use it for a one big purchase. So something, yeah, like insurance is always a good one. If you have to buy a rail card every year to travel into work, something along them lines.
Yeah. And I think, like I said, loads of people often see credit cards or just borrowing money completely like want to run away from it. So what are the different types of credit cards you can actually apply for?
Yeah, so starting from the first one, if you're building your credit, there's actually credit building credit card.
Okay.
So I won't mention the companies, but if you just research it, they'll offer you a low amount on your credit card, maybe like £200.
Yeah.
It's just so you can build it. So they'll offer you like loads of advice and loads of tips on how to build your credit. It's mostly so you can use it for your day-to-day purchases and then pay it off before you're charged interest, and then that way that will build up your payment history on that credit card. So that's the first type of credit card, credit building credit cards. Second type, again, I said it before, rewards credit cards. So rewards credit cards can come in many different forms. You can get cash back, you can get rewards points that you can transfer for gift cards, flight vouchers, anything along them lines. And then you could also get rewards debit cards now as well.
We
So
can actually.
similar thing, cash back.
Yeah.
And then interest-free credit cards is the third one that I use personally. And I would say, like you said earlier, if I have a large purchase to make at the start of the year, maybe car insurance, travel, maybe a holiday that I was planning to go on, I'll put it on that credit card, and then that will give me, I usually get between 19 and 24 months interest-free to pay off monthly, just to manage my finances a bit better. And it also could help with your credit utilization, which I'm sure we'll touch on as well.
Yeah. Would you say, I'm playing devil's advocate here, would you say having a 0% credit card is a good idea if you're bad with spending money? Because I feel like when you know you've got 0%, it can be really tempting to spend more than what you can actually afford to spend.
Yeah, I would agree. So the order that I just said them credit cards in is the order that I would advise my past self to go down. So start with a credit building credit card. That just gets you used to using credit. Then the points let you know how you can leverage credit. And then I feel like 0% is for people who are slightly more advanced, because you need control. You can't just spend it on clothes and whatnot. And yeah, you need to be able to manage them payments, because you still would have minimum repayments to make.
Yes.
It might be like £200 a month, something if you max it out. So you need to be responsible. But I would go in all three, and if you're able to handle the first two credit cards, then maybe look into using 0%.
No, I think that's a really, really good recommendation there. And I guess, like we touched on, credit, is it all that bad, right? So what are some of the advantages of using credit?
Yeah, so using credit, I like to call it like using other people's money.
Okay.
So, like recently, I would say recently I maxed out a credit card, and then instead of paying it back, I've used that in a high interest account, which was getting me 5% interest.
Okay.
Because I had a 0% interest period on that credit card, my own money is making me money in that account, and then I don't actually have to pay that off till later down the line, which obviously I'm going to, but you can actually leverage the bank's money to make more money for yourself.
Yeah. And I think that's something that people, one, don't think of, and two, didn't know they could do it. So I guess, how did you educate yourself on the idea of leveraging the bank's money?
It was probably through business. So through business, I was leveraging credit. I used to get business loans. So like right before, I used to have a trainer shop or online trainer shop.
Yes.
So right before Christmas busy period, I know if I take out a £15,000 loan, I'm going to flip that straight away at Christmas and can pay it back after Christmas. So that's when I started to learn, okay, borrowing money off other people can make me money. So I just implemented it into my personal life as well.
Yeah, I think that's really, really clever. And I guess also another advantage of credit cards, or just overdrafts, I guess, as well, is that it can, if used wisely, can help delay the cost of purchases, right? Because I think, again, people are always like, oh, I don't want to use credit at all, I'd rather use my own money. But I guess if you're maybe, like, let's say, moving to a new flat, or you're buying your first property, but you've now got to pay hundreds of thousands, if not thousands, to refurnish your property, at least that gives you some breathing space as well,
Yeah,
right?
that's actually a good example. So I think I done it myself, and I also tell other people it's a good route to go down. So say if you're buying a property
Yeah.
and you have a good job, like you know there's cash flow coming in, to get a cheaper interest rate, you're better off paying more deposit. So instead of using some of that money for furniture, if you do have access to credit,
Yeah.
put more to the deposit, get 0%
Interesting.
on the furnishing, and
Yes.
then your interest rate is going to be less. So eventually you're actually paying less overall.
Yeah, so there's clearly loads of ways we can actually use credit responsibly, which I actually never thought of until I started watching your videos. But I guess alongside credit being a source for good, what are some pitfalls people need to maybe be aware of when using credit too?
Yeah, so you should always be aware of when your promotional periods are ending, because it can go from 0% to 50% that you're paying back. So you need to be aware, and before you actually sign up to the credit card, make sure you know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
So once that interest period ends, you're going to be liable to pay that interest, and it could be a lot. If you're getting 10, 15,000 pound worth of credit, it's going to add up. So be aware of what you're getting into. Also make sure you're financially responsible. Like you said, it can be easy to think, it's unlimited money, go on a shopping spree. I would personally only use credit for necessities.
Okay.
So I wouldn't spend it on new clothes. I wouldn't spend it on going out with my friends.
Yeah.
For me, a holiday is a necessity every year, because I'm going to go on holiday. So I know that every year I have the finances going on.
I like your language there, Jordan.
But I know impulse buy, like a holiday for me is not impulse buy.
Yeah.
Going into Selfridges and thinking I've got 10 grand worth of credit, like that's not how you should use credit. So yeah, being responsible, I would say, is probably the main thing before getting into credit.
Yeah. And you briefly touched on credit utilization, and that's obviously one thing that's really important when you are borrowing money. So I guess for anyone listening that doesn't know the term credit utilization, what is it and what is a good aim for credit utilization they should go for?
Yeah, so credit utilization, you should think about it as a percentage. So however much money you have available to borrow, the utilization is what you've currently used. So say, for example, you have £10,000 credit available to you. If you use £2,000, that's 20% utilization.
Yeah.
And they say that the best range is between 20 to 30%. Different credit agencies vary.
Yeah.
But staying within that range would give you the best credit score going forward.
Yeah, no, that's really handy to know, because I feel like, again, we get thrown these big words and we're like, what the heck does that mean? And I guess when we talk about the different types of credit cards out there, obviously we know some of the famous ones that are like American Express, and I can go on forever, but I think the main one that people like to know about, whether or not it's good, is American Express. But when we're looking at the different types of credit cards we should apply for, how do you know which one is a good one to go for, and how do you know the different rewards they're all offering and if they're actually worth it?
Well, the good thing is you can get multiple credit cards. I think a lot of people don't realize you can get unlimited amount of credit cards.
Unlimited?
And it wouldn't actually affect your credit score.
Interesting.
So some credit, obviously I'm not an expert on this, but some credit cards will give you a pre-approved, they'll show you what credit cards you're pre-approved for. So it's not actually affecting your credit score to go for them credit cards. Obviously, some credit cards have soft searches and hard searches, but if you're pre-approved for a credit card, you can get it and it's not going to affect your credit score. I personally, right now, I think I have 12 credit cards.
12?
Yeah, I've got 12, not including business credit cards.
Wow.
So, yeah, and my credit score is perfect, so yeah.
That's so interesting to know. So I guess with those 12, how do you go about managing the 12, and do you ever feel overwhelmed by the amount of debt you might necessarily owe?
It can be overwhelming, the amount of credit cards you have. Luckily nowadays, you can set up direct debits. So that's the first thing I would say. If you are looking to benefit from loads of different credit cards and take advantage of all the offers, make sure you got direct debit set up and make sure you got good cash flow coming in. Like I'm lucky enough that I know I have cash flow coming in. I can always pay off my credit cards. So being organized, but I would say for business, I go with American Express Platinum Rewards.
Okay.
Because you can actually get 2 card holders that share the same benefits. So I've got a business partner.
Interesting.
We both get the lounge access. We get all the benefits, basically.
Yeah.
We share the benefits. So that's worth the fee for us. But as a single business owner or an individual, it might not be worth that fee, because
Yeah.
I think it's £650 now.
Wow.
Or, yeah, it's definitely over £600. So
For a credit card.
yeah, but obviously the benefits, I've weighed up that the benefits I
Yeah,
get from it are
yeah.
going to be worth more.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you got to weigh up the benefits to you before getting a credit card. Otherwise, especially ones with fees, you can sign up for it. You have to pay that fee.
For sure.
You can't just exit after a month. Like you got to pay that fee for the whole year. So yeah, make sure that before you sign up, the benefits are worth it. And yeah, I would say just compare the market. Like just look for all the offers before you actually sign up to a credit card. Yeah, definitely just there's loads of options out there. So
Yeah.
just look for all your options.
Yeah, and obviously you are very entrepreneurial minded, which I love to see, and I'm sure people listening or watching the podcast are too. So, what differentiates a personal spending credit card to a business credit card, and are there different terms when you're applying for a business credit card?
Yes and no. I'd say pretty much it's the same. But so, for example, American Express is a good example. You can get two of the same credit cards, one a personal, one business. So
Yeah.
say, for example, American Express Platinum, personal and business. The business one's actually called a charge card.
Okay.
It's not called a credit card.
Okay.
So you're not even meant to have a balance at the end of the month. You're always meant to clear your balance at the end of the month. They
Right.
don't expect you to borrow money for more than the agreed period. So the interest rate is so much higher. I couldn't quite off the top of my head.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
yeah, that compared to personal is different.
Mm.
And I think a lot of business credit cards know that people use it for cash flow. So it's not you can't really get 0% interest long-term credit cards
Mm-hmm.
because most businesses will just max that out. So, not that I'm aware of at the moment in the UK. There's I don't think there's any more than say 45 days, 50
Yeah.
days. So yeah, you can't get the same interest period on personal and business. Otherwise, the principle is the same.
Mm-hmm.
If you if you don't want to get into debt and you don't want to incur interest, pay it off before
Yeah.
the period. And with the business credit cards as well, some of them can affect your personal credit score. So you
That's
got to
good to know.
you got to be careful with that as well.
Yeah. So there's obviously lots to consider there. And I guess, when it comes to obviously borrowing credit, it's not always free, right? But I feel like people often get scared at the use of borrowing money because of the scary 29% or 50% APR. But how does APR work? And am I right in saying that you actually never pay for borrowing money if you pay it off in full every single month?
I guess it depends on every different credit card. So most credit cards, if you pay it off if you pay it off when the balance is due, you won't be charged. I can't speak for every credit card, but
Yeah.
all the credit cards I use, as long as I pay it off when the balance is due, then I won't be charged. Obviously, some people come through, people can fall on financial hardship.
Yeah.
And you can actually talk to your credit card company if you think you're going to get into debt, and you can come with some sort of payment plan. So it's not all doom and gloom if you are getting charged interest, but definitely is just something to be aware of when you're signing up. Just make sure if you do have to pay interest that you can afford to pay it if you do, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's really handy, especially as we enter the new year. I think it's really important because obviously Christmas has happened and Christmas is very expensive. So I know many people would have obviously gone through that, hopefully not using credit, but I'm not naive to the fact that people will be. Now, I guess as we are now in 2025 and people are probably looking to recover their credit score or pay off their debt, do you have any top tips for those looking to build their credit score this year?
Yeah, so I like to start from people, say, who just turned 18.
Okay.
So most 18-year-olds, their phone bill would have been in their parents' name. And if you've got like a monthly contract, that actually counts as credit.
Yeah.
So ask your parents, can you transfer that into your own name? And that will help build your credit. That's normally people's first credit that they have is a phone bill. So I'll put a phone bill on my name. I would look into a credit building credit card. Obviously, if you're not financially responsible yet, maybe delay that a bit. But yeah, credit building credit card, start using daily expenses. So if you can use a credit card as an Oyster card. So like use it for necessities, travel, petrol, grocery shopping, and then get into the habit of paying it back when the balance is due so you don't incur interest. That should help build up your credit score.
Yeah.
Easy way, like straight off the bat to build your credit score is to register on the electoral roll. A lot of people don't actually realize that helps towards your credit score as well. And then after that, I mean, it just it's like a snowball effect. So you've got your credit building credit card, you're going to get offered better credit cards.
Yeah.
You're going to have a good payment history after 2 to 3 years, and then you're just going to build and build. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree, especially with the everyday essentials. So I guess if you're, again, only if you're financially responsible, but if you're looking to build your credit score, like when I was in my placement year at university, I used to just solely buy my petrol on my credit card, and over the year that actually helped me get a credit score of 999 out of 999. So I think, guys, if you're using credit to build up your credit score, don't underestimate the use of literally just spending £50 a month on it, because it actually can build up over time, can't it?
Yeah, I think that's a very good way to think about it. Just even having one specific purchase on that card.
Yeah.
So you might even label it petrol card.
Yeah.
So it's not overwhelming. Okay, this is my petrol bill at the end of the month. Pay it.
Yeah.
Rather than things racking up. So yeah, if you're not responsible, maybe start with just one bill on that card and then build your way from there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I guess to kind of round up this conversation, because I know I didn't send this question before, but to put you on the spot, as we are coming out of Christmas, Black Friday, and all that consumerism period of the year, do you have any debt tackling tips? If there's anyone maybe listening to the podcast that wants to clear some debt or is struggling, do you have any tips for them?
Yeah, I think the best place to start is to start with the debt with the highest interest.
Okay.
So always look to pay off the highest interest rate first. So if you have money to pay off, go for that one first. And people always say it's a snowball effect. So once you get the first one paid off, then pay off the second card with the second highest interest, and then just go from there. Otherwise, I would say prevention is better than cure. So before you, obviously, let's say for next year, Black Friday, Christmas,
Yeah.
look into getting them 0% interest credit cards. Look into getting the reward cards now, build up your rewards points, and then at the end of the year, you might have £200 to use as for gifts, or £200 to use as a holiday voucher. So yeah, prevention is better than cure, I would say. Start now, get the tools ready, 0% interest and your rewards points, then that'll put you in a better position for the end of the year.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And I think, like you mentioned, starting with the debt with the highest amount of interest, because obviously that is the debt that is costing you the most amount of money. So thank you very much for sharing those tips and all of the knowledge you shared in today's episode, Jordan. I guess before I let you go, if anyone wants to take advantage of all the amazing content you share online, where can they go to find you?
Yeah, just search me up, JVSOP, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn as well, Jordan Green. And yeah, I post my content weekly, so I'll be there.
Perfect. Well, guys, as you heard it, please go check out Jordan. All of the links will be in the podcast description as always. And yeah, thanks so much, Jordan.
Thanks for having me.